Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Helmet to Helmet. My name's Mason.
And this is Ian.
And today we are talking about the draft. What happened, what didn't happen, and kind of what we wish happened. First things first, we'll go over that mock draft that I put out. I got out of all of them exactly one pick correct, but I got 6 positional values right, which I consider to be pretty good for something as unpredictable as the NFL draft. And this one was pretty wild. Cleveland Farrell going in the top 4, Daniel Jones sneaking into the top 6, a tight end going number 8 overall, the Steelers trading up for that inside linebacker to round out the top 10. This was a wild draft.
I would have to agree. And how many trades was it in the first round?
Like a lot. Well, 5, 6.
Yeah, it was way more than I thought there would be. And it was just an interesting class all in all. I don't really know what some of these teams are thinking, but at the same time, they know more than we do, I guess. That's why we're over here and they're getting paid the big bucks.
Exactly. So let's get into some winners and losers. And if you want to hear who we think had the best draft class, stay around till the very end where we're going to talk about those. Who are your winners, Ian?
My main winner was the Panthers and Cardinals. I feel like both of them had pretty good draft classes, as you would probably agree as well. And the Panthers had a very solid depth draft class with Brian Burns coming at, 17th overall?
Brian Burns 16th.
16th. Greg Little, great pickup for Cam Newton to protect him. Will Grier, which is interesting. It's not like he's the future, but when Cam goes down, you actually have a quarterback there. And then just some good, solid pickups. Christian Miller can play edge. Jordan Scarlett, Dennis Daly. Just a solid class all in all because they filled most of the positions they needed, except for cornerback, but they might be waiting until free agency really hits.
That's fair. My 2 winners outside of my my best draft class, I've got the Redskins and I've got the Jaguars. The Redskins obviously picked up Dwayne Haskins, who a lot of people agreed was the best quarterback in the draft, even over Kyler Murray, without having to trade up. They got him at 15, which was incredible. And then they traded back in and got Montez Sweat, who really has almost top 10 value at pick 26. That's fantastic value for them.
Especially since the injury thing was wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah, no.
The report,
yeah, a lot of people said that he had a misleading heart condition that people weren't talking about. But it turns out that his heart is okay, which is why the value was actually there. Then in the 3rd round, the Redskins grabbed Terry McLaurin, a nice receiver out of Ohio State. If you can compete at the highest level like that, I think you deserve at least consideration. Then going to the Jaguars, they grabbed a falling Josh Allen, which was really nice. They needed to boost that pass rush. This was a great pickup for them. And then in the 2nd round, they were able to get Juwan Taylor, who I thought was top 10 talent anyways.
Yeah, I really don't know how he fell into the 2nd round, especially when a lot more linemen were taken before him in the 1st round, and some of those we'll get to later, like with the Falcons' 2 lineman picks. It's interesting that I thought that he was one of the premier tackles coming into the draft, right?
Yeah, he definitely was. There was a report that came out right after the 1st round that said he had a knee problem that people hadn't disclosed. But then he went as high as 35. So I don't get what the fall was, really.
The fall doesn't make any sense, but that's a great steal by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I agree. Who are your losers?
My losers, and I hate to say this as a Falcon fan, but the Falcons' 1st round, it wasn't interesting. It wasn't exciting, but they definitely did fill 2 positions of needs, but I feel like the value wasn't there. The rest of their draft class is fine, getting a running back and wide receiver, and just filling the depth there. But I don't think that we should have gotten the guard/center of Chris Lindstrom that early in the draft.
Yeah, in regards to the Falcons, I don't think it was the best draft class, but I wouldn't call them a loser necessarily. They did grab Kendall Sheffield out of Ohio State. He was a really good cornerback. Some of the more edgier mock drafts had him going in the 1st round, early 2nd. I didn't see the value there, obviously, but I think at a 3rd round pick, he's nice because we definitely need to fill up some of those cornerbacks. Chris Lindstrom is a really solid interior offensive lineman, and for a lot of people, him and Bradbury were the top 2. And so if that's a position of need, you go and get one of the top guys. It just depends on who you liked more.
I don't necessarily agree with the trading up for the 31st round pick.
Yeah,
or 31st pick.
I don't,
because you lost the 2nd round and 2 other picks.
You gave up your 2nd and 3rd this year, which is what it was. I'm not crazy over Caleb McGarry. I'm going to be honest. The pros are he's 6'7", 315, and so he fits the right tackle mold. But he's definitely had some struggles in pass protection, and he's a guy that I think you could have gotten at 45 anyways without trading up.
That's what I was thinking, especially when Juwan Taylor made it 35. And
yeah, exactly. And
that
Cody
wasn't-
Ford dropped a little
Greg
bit. yeah.
Little was there.
Yeah.
Cody Ford. Like
Um,
you had plenty of space there, and it wouldn't have been that much further of a reach.
yeah, I agree. There were some local beat writers in different cities looking at offensive linemen, such as like Minnesota, Atlanta, that had him going very late first, like 31st, 32nd. But a lot of those mock drafts had Juwan Taylor and Cody Ford going much before
Yeah.
because the value is obviously better there. My big loser is the Raiders. And they had 3 first-round picks. And I think they were fine picks, but they didn't draft like they had 3 first-round picks. They drafted like they had a first and 2 seconds. I hear a lot of people talking about how great, like Cleveland Farrell, I think is a legitimately great player. But I also think he would have been available at 24.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you would take him at 4th overall. He's a great player, I give him that, but I feel like the Raiders should have almost gotten more draft picks out of this pick, saying we don't want the 4th position anymore. Who wants to trade with us?
I agree. Josh Jacobs, I know a lot of teams had concerns about his touches. I do think he'll be a star. I think they could have gotten him in the second. They drafted like they had 2 second-round picks and 1 first, like a late first. Jonathan Abram as a safety, I think there were better safety prospects still available. The only one that had gone so far was Darnell Savage Jr.
Yeah, and
Nasir Adderley was still on the board. Deontay Thompson was still on the board. A lot of great safeties.
I am surprised that DeAndre Baker made it in the first round. That's something I just
Hey. The only first-round cornerback, I'll tell y'all what. I didn't see that coming either, but I
No.
will rep it. Gotta love the G.
the Giants.
No. No. I don't hate their draft class as much as everyone else seems to. I get the Daniel Jones pick throws everyone off. Let's start from the back end. DeAndre Baker, absolute stud at a corner. Even though I don't necessarily think he is the best corner in this class, you could argue that he was the best corner.
There's an argument there.
There's-
If he's top 3, you have
There's
the
an argument.
perspective, and
I
I think Greedy was, but he was very close behind.
Dexter Lawrence, big interior defensive lineman. They needed someone who could fill up run lanes and just clog everything up the middle. He's not a great pass rusher, but he's a fantastic run stopper, and that's what the Giants really needed. And going to Daniel Jones, okay, everyone talks about, oh man, he was my 4th-rated quarterback, my 5th-rated quarterback. Here's the thing. Go back to 2011, and the top 3 quarterbacks were Cam Newton, Jake Locker, and Blaine Gabbert. We don't know anything. We don't know a single thing that's
Blaine
going
Gabbert obviously was the best quarterback.
at this point, these guys haven't played a single down. So to say that obviously Daniel Jones isn't going to work out in New York is ridiculous. Give the kid a chance. If New York looked and they liked what they saw in Daniel Jones enough to take him 6, and they came out and said that they don't think he would have been available at 17, then you take him at 6. If that's your guy, you grab your guy. And that's another thing I would say maybe about the Atlanta Falcons is if it's your guy,
You have to get
grab your guy.
it. Just you scratch your head as looking at it from now because you don't know what you're gonna get. And Daniel Jones, he's a good player, I think, but I feel like the value's not exactly there. But we once again don't know yet. But is he gonna even start this year?
Probably not over Eli. He may sit for a year or 2, which is another interesting move by the Giants. But yeah. Yeah, it's not as
weird.
bad as it looks. And I thought Dwayne Haskins was the best quarterback in this draft at least. And so to see him fall to 15 over Daniel Jones was surprising me at first, but I haven't invested hundreds and hundreds of hours into scouting these guys.
That was great by the Washington Redskins for the pickup. I'm pretty sure their card was in almost immediately.
Yeah. So let's get into some of the specific players. Talk about your best value in this draft.
Best value, we just talked about him, Dwayne Haskins, falling to 15th. It was, as what many said, was the best or possibly second best, depending on if you liked, good old Kyler Murray at 1st overall. But he was the best player available for the Washington Redskins, especially then. And the Washington Redskins fill a position of need because, let's be honest, Alex Smith isn't coming back. I hate it for him, but he's not coming back. Dwayne Haskins is now their new guy. And they have the best position available, I think, for that, or best value for that.
I can agree with that. I think the best value is DK Metcalf falling all the way to pick
yeah.
64 for the Seahawks. This dude's a stud. He was my top-rated receiver. He was a lot of people's top-rated receiver. And now you give him to Russell Wilson, who's already a top 5 quarterback in the league. This is going to be magic. I'm really excited. And a lot of people knocked on his lack of ability to run a lot of routes in the tree. He can run go routes, he can run post routes, he can run comebacks. But the thing is, a lot of these elite receivers don't have to run every route in the route tree. As long as you run 3 or 4 at a very elite level, they're not going to be able to stop you. You look at Calvin Johnson's route tree, 50% of his routes were either flat routes or go routes.
And he caught almost every
And he
single
caught
one.
him. He caught him. He killed defenses with that. That's all you need is to be really elite at a few different routes and then make defenses adjust. Who was your biggest surprise?
Biggest surprise for me was actually the New England Patriots 32nd overall pick, N'Keal Harry, because what was that, the first or second wide receiver taken off the board, especially when DK's still there, but you don't see the Patriots actually pick up offensive players that much this like at a skill position, especially nowadays. And it was just an interesting pick because Arizona State, kind of a smaller school, but I guess Belichick knows what he's doing. It's just weird
Yeah.
to me.
I mean, Arizona State's not that small of a school. They're in the Pac-12.
But it's the Pac-12. It's not the SEC or ACC.
I understand. N'Keal Harry, definitely a little bit of a surprise, but I can see him going there. I thought he was the third best receiver in this class behind A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf. My biggest surprise was Jawan Taylor going to the Jaguars in the second round. And that's partially because his entire storyline was full of surprises. First, he doesn't go in the top 10. You're like, what? Then he doesn't go in the first round. It's another surprise. And then it comes out that he has a knee problem. You're like, oh my goodness, where's he going to fall? And then he goes to the Jaguars at 35. So it's just surprises all over. You couldn't follow what was going to happen next in his storyline. So not only does the talent fall, and that's a surprise there, but just the way that it fell and the way that it came back up was a surprise to me. Who was your biggest reach?
Biggest reach to me was Daniel Jones. And I know that we don't want to necessarily say only first-round picks, but Daniel Jones, I like him as a player. I'm not sure if he's 6 overall. And the Giants, how they traded down a little bit further, maybe just... It's hard to say, but Daniel Jones has not necessarily had the best draft story coming up into it beforehand. But the Giants don't know what... They do know what they're doing, but they don't.
I understand.
Yeah.
I would say, just looking at film that I've looked at, you could argue that Daniel Jones is the 6th best quarterback, let alone
Yes.
player in the
Yeah.
draft. I think my biggest reach was Caleb McGarry, and I get that you go after your own guys, but there was just so much talent left on the board for Atlanta. Cody Ford, Jawan Taylor, Greg Little.
Especially trading up for it.
You're trading up for it. I thought for sure they were either getting a cornerback or a pass rusher like a Zach Allen. It felt like a reach. This guy was definitely going to be available in some of the later rounds. And there were so many great offensive linemen that fell, like Isaiah Prince from Ohio State. I'm sorry, Michael Jordan from Ohio State. Got him backwards. He fell to like the 5th or 6th round. Yadni Castis fell into like the 3rd or so. You could have gotten these studly interior offensive linemen or even tackles.
Something else I'm looking at is that we traded away our 45th round pick, right? Or
Our 45th overall.
40,
yeah, the 2nd and 3rd rounders.
So 46 went Greedy Williams. We technically could have gotten Greedy Williams with
instead,
that pick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's frustrating. But let's go to something not frustrating to end off the podcast. What is the best draft class? And Ian, you and I actually agree on this.
Yes, we do. And I think I'm going to lead off with it saying the Arizona Cardinals minus the Kyler Murray pick, don't you? Or we're kind of not sold on him completely, especially at 1st overall.
Yeah.
But Byron Murphy's a steal. And the rest of their, what do they have? 12 picks or 11 picks. They also got Mr. Irrelevant. But the Cardinals just had a solid draft class that got 3 wide receivers, 2 on the edge. Byron Murphy was a steal in the 2nd round, and a good tight end at Caleb Wilson. And Kyler Murray, we don't know what he's going to do later in life or later in the career, but he might just be their player.
Yeah. I'm not even upset about Kyler Murray. I think the Cardinals definitely had the best draft class. Their top 5 picks, Kyler Murray, Byron Murphy, Zach Allen, Hakeem Butler, Deontay Thompson, those are all arguably top 50, top 70 players. And you got those in your first 5 picks, including some late round picks in the top 140, essentially. That's an incredible draft. You have to give it up to Arizona out there, and Steve Keim, I think, is their general manager, for being able to orchestrate something this masterful. I was blown away looking at it. I'm like, each one of these guys I think could have gone in the 2nd round.
And they traded away Rosen and got more pick value.
And they got pick value from the Rosen trade, which was really good for them because they needed it. I don't like Kyler Murray going to Arizona because you saw with the Los Angeles Rams, Jeff Fisher drafted Jared Goff. He had a year. He got fired and canned. They bring in Sean McVay. They keep Jared Goff, and now they're Super Bowl contenders. And I was thinking it was possible for the Arizona Cardinals to go through the same kind of resurgence under Cliff Kingsbury. I get why you draft Kyler. Mm-hmm. I just think it's bad. I think you wasted Josh
Rosen. What was it? Didn't he get picked up 3rd pick overall last year?
The 10th pick overall.
10th. Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10th pick overall. So you have 2 first-round quarterbacks in 2 years.
Yeah. You wasted. I'm sorry. They also grabbed Andy Isabella, the wide receiver out of UMass. That's just fantastic value.
And I'm not sure if the new NFL is just all about seeing if that player can do it immediately instead of seeing if they have an impact later on in their career. It's just, what can you do for me now? And then if you can't do anything as soon as you get in here, you're out.
Absolutely. Any final comments leaving out?
I hope the Falcons actually have a good year.
Yeah. Mecole Hardman goes 56 overall to Kansas City Chiefs as well, which I'm excited about. Good old Georgia boy.
Oh, speaking of Georgia boy, Valdosta State in the 7th round.
Absolutely.
Cornerback.
Well, until next time, this will actually be the end of Season 1 for Helmet to Helmet. We'll come back around mid to late August, tell you all you need to know about the NFL offseason and training camp, a little bit about the preseason and what to expect. Until then, my name is Mason.
And this is Ian.
And thank you so much for listening to Helmet Season 1.